I never thought my due date would become a line drawn in the sand until the day my mother-in-law, Evelyn, announced her grand vacation plans. Picture this: I'm 8 months pregnant, waddling around our apartment like a human pumpkin. Every trip to the grocery store, a minor expedition. My husband, Mark, and I have spent months mapping out birth classes, pediatrician visits, and nursery setup. We even joked about timing our water breaking to sync with the finale of our favorite TV series. Then Evelyn drops the bombshell over dinner, as casually as if she were ordering dessert. "So I've booked Hawaii," she announced, popping a macadamia nut into her mouth. "We leave August 15th and return August 22nd. My fork clattered on my plate. August 17th was my due date, etched in my phone's calendar, circled in red. I stared at her, mouth half open. "But you realize our baby's due August 17th, right?" Evelyn shrugged, lighting up a cigarette. "Honey, don't worry. Babies come when they want. It'll be great. I'll just FaceTime in from the beach." Her breezy tone, like our impending miracle was a scheduling inconvenience, sent a shockwave through me. I could feel the baby inside jabbing at my bladder in protest. For a moment, I imagined her little face peeking into the world, while Evelyn was mid-hula lesson, sipping a piña colada 2,000 miles away. "Evelyn," Mark said gently, reaching for my hand. He cleared his throat. "Maybe you could postpone? Just for this?" Evelyn cocked an eyebrow. "Why should I? I've been looking forward to this vacation for a year." She popped another macadamia nut like she was handing down a decree. "I'll be fine. You two have each other." That was the moment the laughter started, low snorts from my sister-in-law Anna, a sympathetic chuckle from my own mother, on speakerphone. Even the waiter, hovering with a wine refill, gave a tight little smile. The whole restaurant felt complicit in my humiliation. I forced a tight smile, pressed my hand to my belly, as if to apologize on the unborn child's behalf. When we got home, Mark was quiet on the couch, flicking through baby gear catalogs. I sat beside him, rubbing my feet. "Can you believe it?" I asked, voice brittle. He exhaled, wiping his eyes. "I know. I'm so sorry. She just doesn't get it," he swallowed. "But what can we do?" I closed my eyes, weighing my options. Confront her? Beg? Resign myself to her absence? None of it felt right. My maternal instincts, already in overdrive, flared with protectiveness. I needed control. I needed to ensure our baby's arrival wouldn't be another excuse for Evelyn's indifference. That night, I lay in bed, Mark spooned behind me, arms around my waist. I stared at the ceiling, imagining Evelyn on a beach chair, offering me the one-finger wave from her lounge. My mind churned. If she wouldn't change her plans, maybe I needed to change hers. I pulled out my phone and Googled last-minute flight change, non-refundable tickets, cancellation policy loopholes. Evelyn's flight was booked through a discount travel club, non-refundable, non-changeable, with a $200 penalty for name changes. But then I noticed something. The policy allowed for a free name transfer if you changed the passenger entirely. In other words, I could replace Evelyn with someone else, make her miss that flight entirely. Perhaps, I thought, I could book another passenger on her itinerary, someone she wouldn't want to travel with, someone she'd pivot away from at the gate. Or more deviously, I could swap her flight for a red-eye to Siberia. My heart pounded at the audacity of it. But I'd spent too long feeling powerless. It was time for action. I typed flight swapping tricks into Google, pulling up a thread on travelers' forums. The consensus: yes, ticket exchanges were possible if you had the reservation number and traveler's email, and you paid the fare difference. Many airline geeks said they'd seen passengers replaced last minute when someone had better things to do. The seed of an idea began to sprout. The next morning, I marched into my home office, formerly my writing nook, pivoted my laptop around, and taped a post-it to the screen. Project Flight to Regret. Below it, I scribbled 3 bullet points. Get Evelyn's booking details. Source alternate passenger. Arrange ticket swap. I swiveled my chair and dialed my mom. "Hey Mom," I said, voice casual. "Could you send me the email that Evelyn forwarded you? Her flight confirmation. I'm compiling family travel plans for the holidays." She laughed. "Sure, sweetie. Anything for the baby's arrival." 5 minutes later, I had Evelyn's itinerary in my inbox. Flight numbers, PNR code, departure and return dates. Next, I called my friend Tara, a fellow control freak mom, always eager for new schemes. "So, hypothetically," I said, skirting the words, "could you trade your name for Evelyn's on a flight and say, book a one-way to someplace nobody wants to go?" She tittered. "Mel, if this is another of your wild revenge plans, count me in." I explained the plan. Book her on the ticket as passenger, then show up at the airport as the sole traveler. "I'll wear an eye patch and pretend I lost my boarding pass," she joked. We laughed, but I felt the knot in my chest begin to unwind. We'd do this carefully, phone call to the travel club, explain TIG travel industry jargon, pay a fee, be done. That afternoon, in the cubicle of my old coworker, Clara, now a digital nomad, I pitched the idea. She raised an eyebrow, then her eyebrows knit. You are diabolical. But damn, could I go to Siberia? I've always wanted to see the tundra. I grinned. Perfect alibi. Tarasov, you're on. We cracked up. But underneath the laughter, I felt a flicker of hope. Soon Evelyn would discover only Clara's itinerary stuffed in her inbox. No vacation on my due date. Only an Arctic expedition. I typed the email to the travel club's concierge account. Hello, I need to replace the passenger on booking PNR 4T9 JFQ with a new traveler, Tara Simmons. Email redacted. DOB July 12, 1982. Same itinerary and seats. Please advise fees and confirm when done. Thank you, Melissa Roberts. I hit send. Heart racing. Within 10 minutes, the auto reply came. Fee $200. Fare difference $50. I forwarded to Brian. Approve? His reply. Heck yes. I paid with my credit card, a stealth, resounding yes echoing through my veins. A few hours later, I refreshed my inbox. Passenger swap complete. New passenger Tara Simmons. Ticket #0461234567890. I fist pumped. I forwarded the confirmation to Tara. Pack snow boots. We'd be chilling in Siberia first week of our pregnancy miracle, a fitting tribute to Evelyn's uncaring planning. Night fell, and Mark found me asleep at the table, laptop open, confirmation email still on screen. He brewed decaf and poured it into my mug, gently shaking me awake. You look like a war hero, he said. I blinked, then giggled. Maybe I am. He kissed my forehead. What have you gotten us into? I showed him the email. His eyes widened. Oh wow, he exhaled, then slid his arm around me. I love you. You're amazing, and slightly unhinged. I snuggled closer. Worth it. The days ticked down. I kept the secret carefully. No hint to Mark's mom. No slip-ups with our family chat. Evelyn emailed me, gushing about her packing list. Sundresses, beach reads, aloe lotion. I read between the lines. Her carefree obliviousness. That email went straight into the ignore folder. On the eve of departure, I had one final errand, labeling the nursery closet. I hung a tiny sign, Operation Siberia, above a shelf of snow boots and heavy mittens I'd secretly ordered on Amazon. I arranged baby clothes, snowsuits next to onesies, tying it together with the absurdity of it all. At midnight, I stumbled into bed, exhaustion and adrenaline tangled in my bones. Mark stirred. What's Operation Siberia? I winked. Just a little welcome gift, he chuckled. You're evil. I squeezed his hand. But fair. His last words before sleep. Our baby's going to have the best mom in the world. I closed my eyes, thrilled for the morning's reveal. Evelyn's regretful panic, the sweet moment of poetic justice. And deep inside, my own anticipation, in a few weeks, I'd meet our daughter, baby Ruby, under the glow of perfected timing, surrounded by the people who'd put her first. Because when your in-law plans a vacation on your due date, sometimes you have to book her a flight to regret, just to prove what really matters. I jolted awake the next morning to the chirp of my phone's alarm and 1,000 butterflies in my stomach. Today was D1, the day before Evelyn's Hawaii departure. By this time tomorrow, she'd be scraping frost off car windows instead of lathering up in SPF 50. I leapt out of bed, careful not to wake Mark, and tiptoed into the nursery, where a single snow boot lay beside the crib. I scooped it up, smiled at its miniature size, and whispered, "Mommy's little polar bear." Then I slipped into the office to check my email one last time. There, buried under the usual newsletters, sat the message I'd been waiting for. Subject urgent, flight confirmation update, from reservations at sunnyilestravel.com. Dear Miss Sinclair, your flight booking PNR 4T9 JFQ has been successfully updated. The passenger, formerly Evelyn Whitaker, has been replaced with Tara Simmons DOB July 12, 1982. An e-ticket has been issued for travel to Surgit, Russia, SVX via Moscow. The flight departs Honolulu at 10:35 a.m. HST on August 15th, arriving in Surgit at 4:10 p.m. ARK on August 16th. We wish you a pleasant journey. The Sunny Isles travel team. I laughed so hard tears pricked my eyes. Tara, I said, imagining her in a parka under the Hawaiian sun. You're about to get an unforgettable vacation. That morning, I dressed for my 40-week checkup at the OB's office, fitted maternity tee, yoga pants, sneakers, my belly rounding out like a harvest moon. Mark joined me in the car, pulling out his phone to check the nursery monitor while I navigated the city streets. "You okay?" he asked over the engine rumble. I exhaled. I'm nervous for so many reasons. I glanced at him, shining with quiet pride, but also excited. "We're days away from meeting Ruby and paying back Evelyn," he chuckled. "She'll get her postcard." He tapped his pocket where I'd stashed a card reading, "Wish you were here, Ruby. Don't be too hard on her though. She'll probably call in a panic from O'Hare." I grinned. I can't wait. At the doctor's office, the nurse led me into the exam room. I propped my feet on the stirrups and laughed when the Doppler found Ruby's heartbeat so strong it sounded like an idling engine. "She's feisty," Dr. Monroe said, pencil tapping on her clipboard. "I wouldn't be surprised if she was born dancing." Mark squeezed my hand as she checked dilation. "We're almost there," she said. "Same contractions, same water break triggers." We left with instructions: check in at 8 semi-nod dilation, or when labor intense. The due date countdown felt tiny after the gravity of the vacation gambit. Back home, I brewed chamomile tea as Mark unpacked his laptop for a few hours' work before the weekend. I wandered into the kitchen and dialed Sunny Isles Travel. "Good morning, this is Sunny Isles," the cheerful voice answered. "Hi," I said. Voice steady. "I'm calling about booking PNR 4T9JFQ. I need to confirm that the passenger swap went through. Can I get the itinerary details?" She rattled off, "Yes, now under Tara Simmons, departing HNL on AA 547 at 10:35 a.m., connecting in LAX and Ord, arriving in CA. No, wait, that's flying North Pole Express. My apologies, HNL to HND to AKX, overnight to YKS, final arrival SVX. Return leaves August 22nd. I smiled, leaning against the counter. "Perfect, thank you." She replied, "My pleasure, enjoy your Siberian adventure." I laughed softly. "Will do." That afternoon, I spent 2 hours in the nursery, fluffing blankets and arranging plush Arctic foxes. I folded the tiny parka I'd bought on sale, pressing its sleeve next to a floral sundress. The contrast cracked me up. I hung a snowflake mobile above the crib, tapped a gentle breeze to check the spin, and whispered, "You'll have quite a welcome, sweetheart." Mark poked his head in, "You filling out the I peeked at him. "I'm baby-proofing the polar expedition." He laughed. "Brilliant." We locked the nursery door and descended to the living room, where our phones pinged with reminders: neonatal nurse call at 6 p. Final hospital bag check at 7, dinner by 8. I sat on the couch, heart fluttering. I feel like we're starring in a rom-com theme of justice and childbirth. He joined me, splayed on the pillows. "Hey, if it makes you happy, I'm all for it." I leaned in, pressing my head to his shoulder. "I'm so grateful, you know, everything changed last month." He kissed the top of my head. "And soon we meet our daughter. Operation Siberia will make for one awesome family story." I giggled. "Yeah, why was Grandma in Hawaii?" "Because Mommy sent her to Siberia." He laughed too, squeezing my hand. "Exactly." That night, around our third dinner attempt, the spaghetti spark fryer incident, I felt a small gush. My heart leapt. Honey, my water." Mark dropped the spoon. "Oh, I'll call the doula and grab the hospital bag." We scrambled, grab go bag, keys, pediatrics forms. Mark dialed the doula while I texted my mom, "Go now, baby coming." She wrote back, "Jeepers, on my way." Then I updated our birth team group chat. "I think it's time. I'll head to L&D. See you there." 10 minutes later, we swerved into the hospital entrance, me in yoga pants and one cold brew coffee in hand. Mark pushing the go bag cart. The triage nurse steered me into a private room, where minutes later I was leaning against the bed, contractions surging. I gripped the rails and saw Mark's face steady at my side. Evelyn's absence barely crossed my mind. 2 hours of intense labor passed in a blur of breathing exercises and doula chants. The anesthesiologist arrived to place my epidural, sweet relief. I dozed through fierce pushes and half awoke at the announcement. One more push? Yes, there she is. A brief moment of shock, a single breath, and then Ruby's loud wail. She was placed on my chest, sticky and perfect, and I dissolved into tears. Mark's eyes glowed as he brushed silky hair off her forehead. She's beautiful, Mel. I stroked her tiny cheek. Welcome to the world, little navigator. And as I looked toward the door, expecting family to flood in, I remembered Evelyn's flight. My mom burst in, breathless but running, and knelt beside the bed. "Grandbaby," she cried, hugging us both. "You did it." Then came Mark's sister Anna, with Meredith and Aunt Cynthia streaming behind, all eyes moist. Not a trace of laughter now, only awe and excitement. The nurses gave space for family introductions, and one by one they leaned in to coo at Ruby, whisper apologies, congratulatory blessings. What struck me most was Evelyn's conspicuous absence. Rumor had spread through text chains. Mrs. Sinclair is out of reach, possibly frozen in flight. The doctor joked, "We did hear she's charting a thermographic course to the Arctic Circle," sending the room into affectionate giggles. We ordered champagne, toasted with sparkling cider, and shared stories. I realized I didn't miss her. My mother, my in-laws, and our chosen birth team surrounded us with love. Later, Mark gave me the faintest squeeze. "I just got an email from Sunny Isles, flight canceled for passenger Tara Simmons due to missed check-in." He smirked. "Looks like someone's in for a surprise on August 17th. I laughed, snuggling Ruby closer. Regret never tasted so sweet. Over the next 24 hours, we settled into our postpartum suite. Visitors rotated in, first nurses, then my mom with breakfast trays, then Anna with flowers. Finally Meredith with a heartfelt gift box, roses and baby shoes, and an awkward but genuine apology. "I'm sorry I laughed. You were right to book her that flight." I forgave her with a hug. No hard feelings. I'd do it again for our family. Emails flooded in from Sweet Starts Bakery fans. "Congratulations, we're sending a brunch tray to your hospital suite." And I realized the spectrum of love that had rallied around me. My phone buzzed again, a text from Evelyn's phone number. "SLP delayed. Bad weather, won't make it back in time. Congrats on the baby." I bit back a satisfied grin. When at last she returned, jet-lagged, carrying Lay with sunglasses perched sideways, she found me holding Ruby in our nursery. Anna cutting her nails, Mark leaning over the crib, grinning. Evelyn froze, then dropped to her knees, tears gleaming. "My darling girl," she kissed Ruby's cheek, passed her to me. "I'm so sorry I missed this." I set Ruby in her bassinet and took Evelyn's hands. "It's okay, you're here now." I gestured around. "We had our perfect day. You just got a story for life." She nodded, bursting into tears. A story indeed. At home that evening, exhausted but alive, I rocked Ruby in the gliding chair while Mark assembled her crib, his first major DIY project. I marveled at the mobile of polar bears and penguins dancing above her blanket. He paused, looking at me. "Think we'll tell her about her first vacation?" he asked softly. I smirked, "Absolutely. Ruby, when you were born, Grandma went to Hawaii. So Mommy booked her a trip to Siberia." I mimed air quotes. "And she ended up missing both." Mark laughed, the sound warm in the lamplight. "Perfect." I leaned my head on his shoulder. "I couldn't have planned a better welcome." He kissed my hair. "You're one amazing woman, Mel. Our daughter's lucky." I looked down at Ruby, blinking up at the ceiling, yawning tiny yawns. My heart swelled with a fierce joy. I'd protected my birth experience, bonded our family, and taught my daughter early that sometimes justice is simply ensuring love is present where it matters most. And as I watched Mark finish the crib, I whispered to Ruby, "Welcome to our world, sweetheart. We're ready for any adventure, beach, tundra, or family cuddle, because with love, every place is home."